Russian President Vladimir Putin and North Korean leader Kim Jong Un signed a partnership that includes a vow of mutual aid if either country is attacked. It was not clear what kind of assistance the deal, described as a comprehensive strategic partnership, would call for. Russian President Vladimir Putin's first visit to North Korea in 24 years comes amid growing concerns over an arms arrangement in which the country provides Moscow with badly needed munitions for its war in Ukraine in exchange for economic assistance and technology transfers that could enhance the threat posed by Kim's nuclear weapons and missile program. Speaking after a signing ceremony, Putin said that security and international issues took up a large part of the talks with Kim. This is according to Russian state media. He was also quoted to say that Russia would not rule out developing military technical cooperation with North Korea under the deal. Kim was quoted as saying that the agreement was of a peaceful and defensive nature. He was quoted as saying, "I have no doubt it will become a driving force accelerating the creation of a new multipolar world." Russia and North Korea also signed agreements on cooperation in the fields of healthcare, medical education, and science. Putin was met upon his nighttime arrival by Kim, who shook his hands, hugged him twice, and rode with him from the airport in a limousine in a huge motorcade that rolled through the capital's brightly illuminated streets, where buildings were decorated with giant Russian flags and portraits of Vladimir Putin. After spending the rest of the night at a state guest house, Putin attended a lavish welcoming ceremony at the city's main square, where he and Kim saluted an honor guard and walked across a red carpet. Kim then introduced key members of his leadership, including Foreign Minister Cho Son-hui, top aide and ruling party secretary Jo Yong-won, and leader's powerful sister, Kim Yo-jong. The square was filled with what appeared to be tens of thousands of spectators, including children holding balloons and people wearing coordinated t-shirts in the red, white, and blue of the Russian and the North Korean flags. Huge crowds lined up on the streets to greet Putin's motorcade, chanting, "Welcome Putin," and waving flowers and North Korean and Russian flags. As the talks began, Putin thanked Kim for North Korea's support for his war in Ukraine. Part of what he said was a fight against the imperialist, hegemonistic policies of the US and its satellites against the Russian Federation. He said the two plan to sign a new fundamental document that will form the basis of our ties for the long term. He was hailing ties that he traced back to the Soviet army fighting the Japanese military on the Korean peninsula in the closing moments of the World War II and Moscow's support for Pyongyang during the Korean War. Kim said Moscow and Pyongyang's fiery friendship is now even closer than during Soviet times and promised full support and solidarity to the Russian government, army, and the people in carrying out the special military operation in Ukraine to protect sovereignty, security interests, and territorial integrity. Now, Kim has used similar language in the past, consistently saying North Korea supports what he describes as a just action to protect Russia's interests and blaming the crisis on the US-led West's hegemonic policy. It wasn't immediately clear what that support might look like. North Korea is under heavy UN Security Council sanctions over its weapons program, while Russia also faces sanctions by the United States and its Western partners over its aggression in Ukraine. US and South Korean officials accused the North of providing Russia with artillery, missiles, and other military equipment for use in Ukraine, possibly in return for key military technologies and aid. Both Pyongyang and Moscow deny accusations about North Korean weapons transfers, which would violate multiple UN Security Council sanctions that Russia previously endorsed. Along with China, Russia has provided political cover for Kim's continuing efforts to advance his nuclear arsenal, repeatedly blocking US-led efforts to impose fresh UN sanctions on the North over its weapons test. In March, a Russian veto at the United Nations ended monitoring of UN sanctions against North Korea over its nuclear program, prompting Western accusations that Moscow is seeking to avoid scrutiny as it buys weapons from Pyongyang for use in Ukraine. Putin's foreign affairs advisor Yuri Ushakov told reporters in Pyongyang that the two leaders exchanged gifts after the talks. Putin presented Kim with a Russian-made Oros limo and other gifts, including a tea set and a naval officer's dagger. Ushakov said that Kim's presents to Putin included artworks depicting the Russian leader. Russia's media earlier said that Kim will host a reception and Putin is expected to leave on Wednesday evening for Vietnam. In Washington, US Secretary of State Antony Blinken said Putin's visit to North Korea illustrates how Russia tries in desperation to develop and to strengthen relations with countries that can provide it with what it needs to continue the war of aggression that it started against Ukraine. Tensions on the Korean peninsula are at its highest point in years, with the pace of both Kim's weapons tests and combined military exercises involving the United States, South Korea and Japan intensifying in a tit-for-tat cycle. The Koreas also have engaged in Cold War-style psychological warfare that involved North Korea dropping tons of trash on the South with balloons, and the South broadcasting anti-North Korean propaganda with its loudspeakers. But this visit of Putin to North Korea is an interesting thing to watch. Do tell us what you think about this video in the comment section, and for more news updates, subscribe to India Today.